Professor Chung, it's a pleasure to have you here. Thank you very much for coming. Let me start from this point. Over the past few years, the world has been experiencing severe upheavals like pandemic, global political tension. I can help but notice how the climate change agenda takes over the front pages of news. For example, last summer is considered to be the hottest summer in the history. Is the situation really that alarming?
Of course, UN Secretary General saying that we are facing collective suicide because we are running on a course of extinction because our survival is at stake. And so the global warming is not becoming global boiling water, so hot. So it's a matter of survival. So it is surprising because much faster than any projections anticipated, we thought this could happen like a 2040 or 2050, but it's already happening. This is why it is a lot more alarming and serious.
Is there a point of no return when the climate change will become catastrophic for us? And I'm talking not only about natural disasters, but the impact on the global economy as well.
Of course, I think already the global boiling is already past the point of no return. I don't think we can go back to the previous level, pre-industrial revolution, which is 280 ppm, but now 460 ppm. So it is rising so rapidly. So we already passed the point of no return. It's only a matter of where we can stabilize, whether it's 2 degree, 3 degree, or 4 degree, 5 degree. We have no idea about that. So it is so serious. And the impact on global economy, of course, it is already this year already is impacting many of the countries. So the impact on economy will be getting more and more serious.
It is known that the world leaders agreed to reduce carbon emission in order to keep global warming within safe limits, I guess, if we can say that. How do you think, is the rate of reduction going at the expected level, or maybe there are some problems in some countries or regions?
For me personally, I think the Paris Climate Agreement is based on nationally determined contribution, NDC. But this NDC is just a voluntary pledge. It's just voluntary promise. But this is not the first time government made such a promise. They made such a promise in 1992, in 2007, 2009. There are so many promises have been made already. But government keep on failing to meet those targets. And frankly speaking, from my point of view, there's no sign of CO2 emission going down. Only temporarily during the COVID-19, because of global economy was melting down. This is why CO2 emission temporarily reduced. But as the COVID-19 away, then now the CO2 emission is picking up because even many countries are going back to using burning coal because the gas supply is disrupted because of the geopolitical situation. So even the CO2 emission is rising and there's no sign of reducing, and even our commitment NDC for 2030, many countries made promises like a 40%, 50% by 2030. But frankly speaking, I don't think countries can make that kind of a drastic reduction compared to when you look back, the track record has been rising. And I don't think within next 6 to 7 years, I don't think we can be able to reduce that much as expected.
Obviously, some countries just have no opportunity to abandon fossil fuels. How to find the middle ground if you want to save the economy and the planet itself?
Actually, this is why I have been promoting the idea of a green growth, green economic growth. So we have to provide the policy options that promotion of renewable energy, transformation to green energy can be an opportunity for economic growth and job creation rather than just burden and cost. This is why I propose this kind of a new paradigm. But realizing that kind of a dream and vision requires a lot of capacity of the countries. And unfortunately, not many countries can come up with such kind of capacity, because it's not just a matter of money and technology. It's a matter of policy, options, and also social consensus. Society has to agree on certain strategy, but it is very difficult in any country. So far, it has been very little success. But in order to survive, we have to make green growth happen. Otherwise, it will be very difficult for us to survive.
Mm-hmm. In 2016, Kazakhstan signed the Paris Agreement on reduction emission. In 2020, President Tokayev announced the goal to achieve carbon neutrality to 2016. As an expert, how do you evaluate our attempts to achieve these goals?
Actually, many governments made such promises. Some countries made the promises by 2050. Some government made by 2060, like China and others. But what is more important to me is not just promise, but what kind of real actions they are taking. What kind of different policy options they are actually implementing is more important. But unfortunately, I don't see many positive success stories, even in developed countries. Very few success stories. European countries have some examples, success stories, but that cannot be replicated by the developing countries, because developing countries are lacking money and technology. And also, I have to emphasize this point. The CO2 reduction by the European countries during the last 30 years was not because of the climate action, but because of relocating their energy-intensive industry to China and to Korea. So it is not climate action. Actually, it is a carbon leakage from Europe to United States to countries like China, India, or Korea. So this is a carbon leakage. This is not climate action. So they have a miscalculation, confusion between carbon leakage and mitigation. So we have to focus on emission reduction from consumption, not just from production. Now we are calculating our CO2 emission based on GDP and production. So we calculate that, oh, China produced this much, but China exporting to United States and Europe is consumed by Europeans and Americans. But China is responsible for the emission because we are calculating based on the production. This is very funny. But for example, the case of UK. UK's case, their territorial emission, the emission within the UK's territory is only 45%. Almost 55% is from import. So British people living on the product imported, produced by China and Korea. But these consumers in Britain, they are not responsible for those products. So in other words, UK is responsible only for 45%. And the 55% imported good responsible by the Korea and China. So this is a very funny situation. We have to change the calculation basis so that the consumers has to be responsible for their consumption, not the producers. So these kind of issues are there. This is why I am a little skeptic. Based on the current climate regime, it will be difficult to achieve the target.
May I ask this question? How can you parry an opinion of people who say that climate change agenda is just another political game with its own beneficiaries? I do not support this idea, but
I think we have to get out of that kind of groundless some rumors and conspiracy theories, because everybody this year, during the summer, we already suffered from the worst wildfire, drought, and the heat waves. People are dying already. So I don't think we have to wake up from those very funny conspiracy theories, but we have to tackle the reality, because people are dying. That's the reality. So we cannot no longer waste our time for that kind of conspiracy.
I must admit that the climate change isn't the topic that daily discussed among people. How to persuade people that this problem should concern them, and what can we do as a humanity?
First of all, many people are already, they will see TV or newspaper. I don't think I have to explain myself, because they are already watching it by the TV. The real wildfires, drought, and the hurricane.
But do they see a connection?
But, okay, so they have to realize that sooner or later, I might be the victim too. It's not just somebody else's problem. Someday it will be my problem and my children's problem. So there is an issue for your survival or future survival. And I'd like to emphasize this point. At the moment, people, the consumers, are excluded in searching for solutions. Everybody thinking that it should be, the climate action should be done by the government and by the business. And the people are thinking that why government is not taking strong action, why business is not taking responsibility, and just blaming government and the business. But that's very unfortunate, because government cannot do anything on their own. Government has a very limited money. Also, politically, government cannot take a strong action because a lot of people don't like. If you raise the price of electricity, people will revolt. Government cannot do anything about it because people don't like it. So you cannot blame government, or you cannot blame the business, because businesses survive, they have to make a profit. So you cannot blame government and business. You have to blame yourself. We are consuming fossil fuel energy, and we are not responsible. We are not paying for our carbon emission. So we have to be the person who pioneer, lead, sharing the responsibility. But at the moment, unfortunately, there is no system that ordinary people can share the responsibility. This is why I'm proposing green tariff for electricity, or green tariff, green price for any product used with renewable energy. So the price has to be different. Some people should choose to buy green product if they are concerned about climate change. But at the moment, we have only one price. So consumers cannot make any choice. So we have to give a choice to the consumers. So I'm proposing to Uzbekistan and Kazakhstan to introduce green tariff for electricity. So some companies, some people voluntarily choose to pay a higher price for solar energy because they are worried about climate change. And now I had a very interesting meeting with the Coca-Cola. They say they are ready and willing to pay higher price for green energy and use it. Why? Because they can publicize that our product is produced by green energy. We didn't produce any carbon. So our product, our coke, is carbon-free coke. So they can publicize that our coke is carbon-free coke. It will be a very strong marketing tool and message. And it will be good for their sales. So Coca-Cola think, oh, sure, we can pay for higher price for green energy because it will be good for their marketing. If Coca-Cola started to use green energy, then I think Pepsi-Cola has to follow as well. Otherwise, they lose the market. So this is the way we can introduce options for companies or consumers to share the responsibility voluntarily, because we cannot impose. So this is the first step, and this is why I'm proposing Me First campaign. The companies say that, okay, I will be the first to use green energy, and I will get a certificate, and I will publicize that my product is a carbon-free product. So the consumers can choose carbon-free product. But this should be the future new marketing tool, new consumer choice. So this kind of system has to be introduced in Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan.
Mm-hmm. I think your speech, I convinced that your speech persuaded many of our viewers to take this problem seriously. Thank you very much, Professor. It was a pleasure to talk to you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.